Well, here we are, day one of Diablo 3 being live on the servers. It's May 15th. Game is less than 12 hours old, and I want to take a first whirlwind tour of the auction house live in-game. And so the first thing to say is you'll notice when you sign your terms of service as you're starting up the game the first time, there's an auction house terms of service, and one of the things you'll notice in there is that the real money auction house that's been focus of a fair amount of attention leading up to launch is not available in the first week. So as the notification here says, the auction house, real currency auction house they're calling it, will be available as of the 22nd of May. So that's a full week after today, after the launch. Having said that, I want to give you a kind of a whirlwind tour of how things are looking just in the first few hours, what's showing up, and how prices are starting to sort themselves, and what you need to start doing to begin making inroads into playing the auction house in Diablo 3. So first of all, with equipment, let me go back one step. You have it categorized in the auction house interface between equipment, gems, and then crafting and dyes, which is basically blacksmithing materials, and then pages and recipes, which is, you know, the recipes, and then the other items such as tomes of secrets and tomes of jewel crafting and so forth that are also parts required, materials required to craft items. I want to focus in this first quick overview just on equipment. There's a lot to look at here, but let me give you the basics. So you've got a very thorough search interface. You don't search for things by name, you search for them by stats and groupings. So for example, you can look at your current character. Now this is a level 1 wizard that I haven't even entered the game with. So that's one thing to be aware of, by the way, is you don't need to do anything in the game whatsoever in order to get started in the auction house. Although of course you do need some gold. I suppose it's possible that somebody could roll a tune, never enter the game, buy some gold on the real money auction house next week when that becomes available, and literally never go enter the game and start playing the real money auction house. That's a possibility, but probably a bit foolish and not a likely approach. Anyway, you can look at your current character. No point doing it because my character is so low and limited. But let's take a look at the barbarian class. You see you can select any class. Then you can select item types, so one-handed weapons, two-handed weapons, offhands such as shields and so forth, armor, and then follower items. And within each of those, let's say we select, let's go for two-handed weapons. It will subdivide to the different kinds of two-handed weapons, and the ones that aren't available to the barbarian class, for example, here are grayed out. But I could look at just polearms, for instance. And then I can set level ranges, low and high, and I can select rarity. Now, for the most part, you're only going to be looking at items that are magic and higher. So let's just set magic, and then I won't set any of the stats. You can pick 3 stats and set values, minimum values for them, and it's very thorough. So that will become functional and useful as you begin to understand the itemization in the game and the values, relative values of different stats to different classes, which will be key to understanding the true value of items so that you can start trading effectively. I'm going to leave that unselected for now and just hit an ordinary search so you can see what's going on here. So magic items, two-handed weapons, polearms only, available to barbarians. That's my current search. So you see that rather than having a scrolling window, you've got a series of pages that you can just click through at the bottom of the interface. And right now I haven't sorted the auctions, so I presume it's got some kind of, well, let's see, it might be a time-based sort. Yeah, well, no, I can't tell what the sort really is when you first look at it here. It's a little hard to assess. But you can click on the top of each column to sort your entire search. This goes across all of the pages by that stat. So, for example, buyout price is the obvious one to check out. I've sorted it from low to high, so we've got some no buyout items on the first page. If I sort it from high to low, you see that little arrow switches to downwards pointing. So I can now see what the highest buyout price for any polearm in this category is. So it is this socketed hatch of winter, and you see it's got a socket, it's got plus cold damage, it's got 27.1 DPS, and it's clearly overpriced at 30,000 gold for a buyout. Not that anybody's going to have 30,000 gold to spend at this point in the game, so I'm not quite sure what the point of that particular post is. So, you know, if we page through to something more realistic in price, getting down into this 8,000 and 9,000 gold range, You can start looking at the stats. Eventually, what you're going to need to do, and this is probably going to require databases external to the game where we all start analyzing values, is you need to start understanding what is it worth to have holy damage on a weapon versus the DPS of the weapon and so forth. And how does that translate into a gold value? Once you know that, once you have some idea of the value of the different stats, then you can start saying, this item is a bargain, I'll buy it and I can sell it for a profit or whatever. Now just to give you, I'm going to go much deeper into this in other videos, but just to give you a sense of what's going on in the first 12 hours of the game, let's switch to rare. And this is the way you'll work with it. You'll pick a certain search, you'll set some stats, and then you'll look at magic items versus rare items versus legendary items. You'll play with the stats, instead of having attack speed, you'll select for plus weapon damage, that kind of thing, and see what the relative values are, and you'll start to calibrate your thinking. But here we go, this is just rares. Again, I'll sort by buyout value descending. So somebody's put up the Hyperborean title at, don't know what that means, 1 million gold, which is obviously silly. And if I page through like page 5, let's see, prices are in the 20,000 sort of gold range. Again, I don't think very many of these are going to be selling at that kind of price. So I can also switch that up to legendary and see if there are any legendary items. No items found. So let's get rid of polearms and say all two-handed item types to broaden the search a bit. Okay, and there you see there are some two-handed weapons for barbarians, legendary. And again, let's try the search from high to low. So you got the silly ones at 2,000,005. Perhaps more valuable if you're trying to get into buying and then profiting is to look at the low-priced items and see if there are some bargains there. So currently, if these prices meant anything at the moment to you, you can see that the Bone Shatter is, looks like a pretty decent piece of equipment actually. And it's a buyout at 9,950 gold. And most of them are going up to 30,000 plus. Let's see what page 2 says. Yeah, here's Bone Shatter at 50,000. So you could get a sense that even just from this kind of a quick look, that at less than 10,000 gold, that might be a buy, and that you could turn around and sell that for a profit. But that's very speculative at this point without understanding what is the value of 22.5 DPS and crit increased by 1%, which are some of the key stats here, plus 27 strength as well. How does that stack up compared to an item that might sell for 30,000 gold? I'm going to leave it there. There's obviously a lot to be understood here and a lot of hardcore number crunching to go on before you can start making inroads into trading equipment. Much easier will be the market for crafting goods, and I'll look at that in the next video.